Hey, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. It's been a very long minute since I made any type of content. On Friday evening, my family and I were discussing some of the things we've noticed. One of the things was how the San Carlos Apache tribal government was started and how the U.S. government began to keep us Apaches dependent on subsidies and aid for generations, basically from its inception until today. When the nomadic Apaches were forced to live on a reservation in the mid 1870s, life started to change for the Apache people, and change happened fast. The change messed with the Apache people's daily routine. Before colonization, I imagine our people would start their day before the sunrise. Warriors would plan the day's hunt. The women would prepare and gather what was needed to keep the community going and running effectively. Now, they had a system. They're structured, intentional. The Apache people were independent, hardworking, and organized. But once they were forced to live on a reservation, Uncle Sam had other plans to disrupt their independence. How'd they do it? Well, they had non-native U.S. troops hand out boxes of food, which were called rations. They handed these boxes of rations to the Apache people who followed the orders to stay on the reservation. Then one troop decided to ask the question, what if we have an Apache hand out the food to the people? Uncle Sam said, all right, that sounds legit. I don't have to pay somebody to do it now. I can just have the volunteer do it for free. And besides, it's their people, so why won't they? Or why wouldn't they? So the volunteer went ahead and started doing that for free. Uncle Sam, now at this point, began to get tired of wasting money and resources on policing the reservation. So once again, they started plotting and scheming to cut costs. They came up with a plan. Let's train these Apache volunteers to become tribal leaders. Let's train these Apache volunteers to become tribal leaders. These volunteers already had popularity, clout, from handing out the rations. So it made sense to put these people into position of power. Over time, these tribal leaders were trained to influence the community and keep everyone in line with Uncle Sam's agenda. And yeah, the agenda wasn't really for the Apache people. One of their tactics was segregation. To divide the people, they created something called districts on the reservation. You might recognize them: 7 Mile Wash, Gilson Wash, Peridot, and Bylis. These districts were probably made up of clans or families. But to run more efficiently, they needed to have representatives for the districts. Now, that's how the tribal government was formed. Now, remember earlier how I said it's about how they kept the Apache people dependent? Now we're finally here. Since the tribal government's creation, there's been one process passed down from administration to administration. It's changed forms, but the purpose stayed the same. It started with food boxes, then it became checks for general assistance or GA. Then came cheap housing through HUD and other subsidies, Christmas parties, per cap checks, and oh yes, Walmart gift cards. To me, all of these things are tools to keep us dependent. It's not just the government handing these things out. It's our elected officials, the people we elected into office, the same ones that fly back east for meetings and trainings, all paid for by grant money. And who gives them those grants? You already know. Uncle Sam. Let me be clear. These programs and services our tribes provide, they're meant to help us along our way, not to sustain our whole way of living. Now, if you made it this far in the video, don't be cheap. That's probably going to wrap up this video for this time. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like I said before, feel free to subscribe, comment, like the video. I'd love to hear from you guys, because in order to make change, you have to be the change. We can't depend on our tribal government to make the change for us. So healing begins here and here first, before we can heal the community. Thanks for watching. Until then, stay educated and blessed. Until next time, I'll see you later.